welcome back. If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Anusha and I'm currently in my first year of medicine at King's College London. Now in this video I'm going to be going over the online interview process and some things that I think might be helpful for those of you preparing for interview season this year. Now this video is part of a series of medicine interview prep videos that I've made that will hopefully help you guys. I know when I was going through the interview process I was quite anxious and I wasn't really sure how to go about preparing for it because there were so many resources and so many things to look at. So I'm hoping that by collating all of that information for you, it will make it slightly easier. Okay, I did waffle a little bit, but let's get right to it. Okay, so for home students, most medical schools try to have their interviews between December and March just so that they have enough time to process your application and get back to you with an answer before the deadline. And that's why it's typically known as interview season, but that isn't always the case. Some universities have it before, some universities have it after, so it really depends. So make sure to check out that specific website for more information. But this year's interview cycle is going to be slightly different because of the current situation with COVID-19 and the restrictions changing over the next few months. So most universities have decided to hold their interviews online for the 2021 entry. You can find a full list of the medical schools that have confirmed that they'll have online interviews this year, so I'll put the link for that down below. As it stands, Zoom and Microsoft Teams are the two common software programs that are going to be used by medical schools this year for their interviews. So make sure that you familiarise yourself with both of them so that you can prepare yourself and so that it's less daunting for you on the day if you haven't used them before. Of course, regardless of if your interview is online or in person, the questions are going to be the same because they're testing you on the same skills, the same abilities. But there are some key differences that you're going to notice on the day of your interview that I thought I would highlight for those of you that might not be aware of it. Now, the first thing I want to mention is the location and setup of your interview. Now this is great because you can choose where you want to sit your interview and find an atmosphere that's going to make you feel comfortable, that's going to allow you to think and communicate your answers clearly. Obviously that's going to be different for everyone, so make sure it's a place that you feel familiar with. Maybe practice a few answers there, see if that's somewhere that you're comfortable with. Now I'm going to be talking about the importance of body language a bit more in my other videos, but I just thought I'd touch upon it a bit here because it can be difficult to relay positive body language across the camera sometimes, as well as your emotions, how you're feeling, your thought process, and some people find that easier to do in person, so I thought I'd share a few tips on how to make yourself feel more comfortable. It's the little things about body language that can really leave a first impression on you, and you want to make sure that you leave a good first impression with your interviewer so that they remember you as a candidate and remember what you have to offer. Slouching is a big factor. Now I know if you're sitting in a chair in front of a computer for hours and you're working, you might have the tendency to slouch, and that's okay, but an interview really won't last that long. If it's a panel interview, it will be anything between 20 to 30 minutes. An MMI interview will be less than 10 minutes, so just make sure to sit up straight. It will give a good first impression to the interviewer and it will make them feel like you're really attentive and ready to give a good answer. Lighting is so weird in my room and changes every 2 seconds, but we move. Another thing to mention is speech and eye contact. Speaking from experience, Wi-Fi can really affect your video call quality and what you're trying to get across to the person you're speaking to. It's completely normal to feel anxious about that or to have any mishaps on the actual day, and I know it's easier said than done, but try not to let it affect your answer and the way that you're trying to relay what you want to say to the interviewer, because that will really show across in the video. So make sure just to adapt your answer accordingly and take a pause if you need to rethink and figure out where you're at. Eye contact might also be an issue, for example, with panel interviews if you have more than one interviewer, because you might not be familiar with the software or you just might not know where to look. So make sure that you're always keeping eye contact with the person who's asking you the question, and if in doubt, just alternate your eye contact every now and again so that both of the interviewers know that they have your attention. Now, one really important factor that might help to relieve some of the stress that you might be feeling on interview day is the device that you're going to use. Now, that might be different depending on what software you use, or there might just be a device that you're more comfortable with, but just make sure that it has the app downloaded, that you're familiar with it, that you know how to work your way around it to reduce the number of mishaps that might happen on the day. Having a Wi-Fi issue on the day is not the one, so perhaps in advance restart your router if you think that you have not the strongest Wi-Fi connection, or use an Ethernet cable just to reduce the potential mishaps that might happen due to internet on the day. I've also got some general tips for interview that I'm going to be covering in my next few videos, but I've put a list up here that I think will be useful for the online one. Even though the interview is online and it might be from your home, it is still a formal and important part of the application process, so make sure to dress accordingly. Of course, you've got to make sure that you feel comfortable, so if you don't think you're going to be comfortable in a full suit and tie, then don't wear that. In that case, smart casual might be the best way to go. And before somebody asks, you can't have your cameras off for this one. So if you did find some things useful to take away from this video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up. And if you think there might be some useful things to take away from the rest of my series, then please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned. I've also got regular updates on my Instagram, which is at my GK Team Monologues, if you want to check it out. And yeah, stay tuned.